Bam!
Hello.
Hello, everybody. This is the Tuesday night comic book preview stream. My name is Aaron, and this is my coworker, also
Also
named
Aaron.
Aaron. We are very excited to talk about some comics that are coming out tomorrow, especially because it's been like kind of a rough couple of weeks for me. Like we weren't able to do the stream last week, and then had some technical difficulties the week before, which we don't want to talk about right now. But also, I've I think like the theme of all of the month of January was like there's not a lot coming out. It's a really light week. Like every week it was just like there's not a lot going out. Well, it's all coming out tomorrow. This is like the biggest week, not just for new stuff, but there's like a lot of reprints, a lot of just there's actually a hefty amount of stuff to talk about. Most of it is kind of the normal type of stuff I talk about, but there's a few extra new different things in there. But yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and start with how I like to always start these, which you've done one stream with me now, Aaron,
Yes.
so you know how I like to start these streams.
Remind me.
Facsimile reprints.
All right.
I love the old comics, and I want to get them out of the way at or top of the show, so that otherwise I'll just spend the whole day talking about
No, that's fair.
50-year-old comic books. So coming out tomorrow is yet another facsimile reprint of the Amazing Spider-Man number 129, featuring everybody's favorite controversial character, the Punisher. This is his first appearance. I think they put out one of these just last year, like around the same time. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but I will point out that although the facsimile reprint did come out last year, this is the first time that they're doing a foil cover version of it. So if you like the foil covers for these facsimile reprints, now's your chance to get one of these. I can't even get like a good shot of it on the camera. Look at that glossy.
Too shiny.
It's too shiny. It's too shiny. So yes, there is. I love me some classic. What did we say earlier? What did I tell you? It's Bronze Age.
Yes.
That's from the 70s.
Yes.
70s is Bronze
Okay.
Age. 60s is Silver Age, which is the next facsimile that we're going to talk about. Fantastic Four number 2. This is the second issue of Fantastic Four. Marvel's doing a reprint of. I have to assume. I hope that this is anticipation for the movie. They put out a facsimile reprint of number 1 a few weeks ago, and that was a one that they've reprinted before. But I think this might be the first time that 2 has been reprinted. This is the first appearance of the Scrolls, of course, and I really like these early Fantastic Four issues because you can tell that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee are still really like
They're
figuring out
they're
the
working at
concept.
how to make it work. Like
Yeah,
Storm just looks like he's just a guy on fire.
exactly.
Ben looks not a
he's
lot
he's
like Ben.
lumpy. Like,
Very lumpy.
yeah, they don't even have costumes in this issue. Like,
Mhm.
they don't get their costumes until like issue 4. But yeah, this is a fun issue. This is also the issue that famously ends with the way they defeat the Scrolls is Reed Richards. Uh, yeah, there he is. I'm spoiling the end of this 50, 60-year-old comic book. Reed Richards brainwashes them into thinking they're cows, and then they turn into cows, and then they just like
That
live their
that
existence as cows on Earth.
that's a little
It's
nightmarish.
a little nightmarish. So
That's
ends the menace of the scrolls. He hypnotizes them. That's literally what I will hypnotize you so that you will forget your previous identities. You will remain what you become for as long as you live. But they're happy to do it because they'll have a peaceful existence. And
does
then
does that mean that sometime do they get turned into cows or steers? Because does that mean sometime down the line, some bunch of randos eat a bunch of scroll burgers? There's a lot to unpack here. Are people drinking scroll milk or skrilk,
th-
as it's referred to in the biz?
that is a story that happens later on.
Ah,
The scrolls that get turned into cows eventually get butchered.
I want to read that more.
Yeah, so classic Fantastic Four. I love me some old Marvel. Another facsimile that I'm pointing out is a little bit different era. This is Batman number 610. This is part of the original Hush storyline from 2001, 2000 maybe. This is the original Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee comic, and I mean, if you like Jim Lee, you're gonna like this comic. This is Killer Croc. I think that's his version of Killer
Sorry,
Croc.
I'm guessing it's Killer Croc. It's
Yeah,
kind of who it looks like.
but I haven't. Oh, look at that Robotech. Look at that
Oh,
ad for that. Did you ever play that? PlayStation 2.
yes, I actually have played that game.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good game.
Is it good? Do you want to just talk about like Robotech games for the rest of the stream? Because we can do
I
that.
it would be nice, but
But yeah, so this is I think it's the part 3 or 4. I don't know. I haven't been. I read this when it came out, and I have. I know.
no. Sorry, the time split.
Oh,
There's a
oh,
time splitter
you want
hat.
to talk about?
That's an even better
There
game.
you go. Boom.
Sorry.
Time Splitters 2. Yeah, I remember that one.
That's actually kind of great.
Bring all the memories are coming back now. See, this is why we like these facsimile reprints. You know, for all the old. It's a reminder that comic books used to have ads in them for things that weren't just other comic books. Yeah. But yeah, so got 3 facsimiles. There are also it's like adjacent to facsimiles. There are several, not just collected editions, but just new printings, like second and third printings of some notable comics that are coming out tomorrow that I sort of feel like worth mentioning. I guess this is actually just a new printing of a collected edition, but it's worth talking about. I'm talking about Fantastic Four Grand Design. While we're on the topic of Fantastic Four,
I really don't like that cover.
you don't like this cover?
I do like it, but there's a specific part of it that would be hard to guess. It makes me a little uncomfortable.
Is it
Just
is it the Invisible
I
Woman?
actually like the Invisible Woman. I
Oh,
like
is
Ben's
it
weirdly visible eyebrows.
is it
It's
this weird silhouette of Mr.
the very
Fantastic?
unsettling Mr. Fantastic silhouette. He looks like that one guy from the prequel trilogy of Star Wars.
Oh yeah, he has a name.
He does. I don't know what it is.
It's too bad Dan isn't here. He would know the name, I
Yes.
bet.
Glebo Morplox.
That Wow, that's definitely it.
Yes.
That sounds like a Star Wars name.
Yep.
But Fantastic Four Grand Design. This is it was originally printed at Treasury edition size, but now they're getting it's printed in a standard size. This is by the great cartoonist Tom Scioli. He did the Godzilla Monster Piece Theater comic that I talked about not too long ago. And if you're just getting into the Fantastic Four, if you're kind of hyped about that new movie and you're interested in the history and the continuity of Fantastic Four, this is a great place to start. This is a very dense book, but it really is just Tom Scioli drawing the entire history of the Fantastic Four.
Really tiny panels.
It's really like it's full. Like some of these pages have like 20 panels on them. But it's, you know what, Fantastic Four has a lot of history. This book actually, I think it mostly just covers the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby era, which many would argue is the most important era of Fantastic Four. All other Fantastic Four comics are judged against Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's original run, which, I mean, let's face it basically created the Marvel universe out of that run. So yeah, this is a fun book. I highly recommend it. I really enjoy it. I like Tom Scioli a lot. He's a good cartoonist, and also this is a good like primer on just Fantastic Four lore. You know, as they say, we used to just say continuity, and now everybody says lore. Yeah. There are some other. Gosh, this stack here is huge. I can't even show you guys this whole stack. There's some other new printings. I'm going to briefly mention some of them. The New Gods #1 getting a second printing. We talked about this issue when it first came out, and I think issue 3 is coming out soon. But there's only the 2 issues out so far, and I have been enjoying this comic. I was a little iffy on the first issue, if you recall, because I'm iffy on almost all first issues. But what this comic has that most other comics don't is oh wait, no, that's issue 2 has the cool big Barda panel. Well, this is a cool comic too. I really enjoy it. But I do recommend it if you're wanting to get into the run. Uh, there are 3, well, maybe 2 more that I'm going to talk about. Also coming out tomorrow, second printings of both of the It's Jeff comics. We have the original It's Jeff and then It's Jeff, the Jeff verse. If you are a fan of cute little sharks, you're going to like It's Jeff. Or if you've been playing the Marvel Rivals game, I think Jeff is really popular on there. I don't play video games.
His popularity's kind of exploded after the Marvel Rivals game. A couple of characters kind of have, like Moon Knight, and Squirrel Girl's always big, but like Moon Knight's a bit bigger right now. Magic's a bit bigger right now, just because they're, popular in the game.
Yeah.
So like it's bringing awareness to characters that people might like anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, and if they're good in a game, it's easier to remember them too. So
Exactly. Well, the funny thing about Jeff is that there's not a lot of Jeff comics out there. He's a relatively new character. He's mostly he's Gwenpool's pet. Like he's just a character from the Gwenpool run. But they did this series of these two issues. Each of them are a collection of short stories by Kelly Thompson and the artist Girahiru. And yeah, they're just like super cute little like slice of life stories about Jeff the Land Shark. And yes, yes, I love land sharks. I do. Also love land sharks. But yeah, they are just so super cute. I have to admit, like I'm an old guy, and so
you say,
I like my old comics where everybody is like tough and gritting teeth and having pouches,
yeah,
and you can't see their
that,
feet, uh, But so oftentimes I find myself on the opposite end of this new trend of like super cutesy, everybody is friendly type of Marvel universe.
mm-hmm.
But I love Jeff. Jeff is super cute.
It's hard to hate him.
It's hard to hate Jeff. I mean, come on, just look.
He's
It's
a
hard to
cute little
hate Jeff.
shark
Yeah.
that
So
somehow has canines despite being a shark. Don't worry
yes,
about it.
exactly. So
He's
yeah,
also got legs. Sharks tend not
totally.
to have those.
Jeff totally won me over. So good job, Jeff. But we have had people coming in and asking about Jeff comics, and we've been sold out of those for a while. So I'm very happy we got second printings of both of those. So we're gonna push those really hard. Okay, I have one more second printing that I'm gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna shut up for a little while and let Aaron talk. But this is actually the one I wanted to talk about the most. This is Superman: The Last Days of Lex Luthor. This is a second printing of this book. This is by Mark Waid and Brian Hitch. And issue one, the first printing of this is what is Jeff says? If Deadpool is Marvel Jesus, then Jeff is American Pikachu. You know what?
That's actually
That's
pretty on point.
pretty accurate. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so Superman: Last Days of Lex Luthor, issue one. The first printing originally came out in, I believe, June of 2023. So we're going almost 2 years. We've been waiting for issue two. Issue two is going to come out next month. And so DC, in their infinite wisdom, decided it would probably be a good idea to put out a second printing of issue one so that people could actually read it. Otherwise, nobody's going to get issue two. I loved this comic. First of all, it's drawn by Brian Hitch, so it looks amazing. The high concept is very, very simple. I guess I can maybe find a page here. The high concept is really straightforward. Lex Luthor is dying of cancer, and so he tasks Superman with saving his life because
Mm,
he knows that Superman will try, and Superman's the only person on the planet that will actually try. Whereas everybody
yeah.
else will be like, "Good, let him die." But he knows that Superman, he's just that good. But then that puts Superman in this weird spot where he's like, is this all a elaborate plot by Lex
Mm.
Luthor? So really, really good comic. I'm sorry it took 2 years to get issue two. I read an interview. I can't remember it all exactly because it was 2 years ago that I read the interview with Brian Hitch, but because somebody was kind of bugging him like why are we waiting? Why are we taking so long to wait for Superman Last Days of Lex Luthor number two? And he said he was very like candid, and he just said, I finished issue one and I told DC that I wasn't going to start issue two for a year and a half, and that was the contract. Like they knew that going into it,
And they just released
and
issue
they
one.
just released it anyway. He goes, I don't know why they did it, but they didn't want to wait, so sorry, but you're going to have to wait 2 years for issue two. So here we are. But I'm very excited because I loved issue one. So yes, definitely, if you like Superman, if you like Mark Waid, he's been doing a lot of cool stuff with Superman lately. And also Brian Hitch, of course. Who doesn't love Brian Hitch? Superman: Last Days of Lex Luthor. I highly, highly recommend it. Okay, Aaron,
Oh boy.
what's something that you read this week that you want to talk about?
Uh, well, how to talk about something I didn't like?
I mean, I do it more than I like to admit.
Ah, cool. All right. I am at this. I probably said some good things about it when I read the first couple issues, but I am at this point hate reading Absolute Batman.
Absolute
Um,
Batman.
I'm
This is issue
Three.
Three? Oh, okay, three. So this is a. Oh, okay. So this is I don't know if you realize this.
Oh, was this last a couple weeks ago?
This is I think a second or third printing of
Oh shoot!
Absolute Batman.
I just lost track of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, cool. Well,
So I do believe issue 4 comes out soon as well. But because I started to read this issue, this is there's so we I didn't bring them all in as you I just talked about like 5 second printings,
mm,
but there's actually multiple printings of all the
like
Absolute books
10.
coming out tomorrow. So there's Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. And so yes, so you read Absolute Batman 3,
Yeah.
which that was the issue that I gave up reading Absolute Batman. So
I'm
that's funny that you say that.
I'm gonna read every one of them from now on just to get angrier.
Just to get angry.
Like it's not for me. I liked the idea that they're going with a very, very, very different flavor of Batman. I initially liked the idea of let's have like, a lower class, like blue collar Batman. I'm like, okay, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like this. I didn't like a lot of parts of this. I didn't like the machine gun ball turret that shoots tiny, tiny, tiny batarangs that blow up tires. And that's for
Yeah.
somebody. That is for somebody. And I thought for a bit it was for me when he had the shotgun loaded with bat pellets in
Uh-huh.
like a couple issues ago. Like I was like, okay, I could see what they. Maybe this is ridiculous, and it's not doing it for me. The bat wrecking ball that
Mm-hmm.
that has a bat symbol on it, or barely a bat symbol, because I think they took the criticism that the absolute bat symbol doesn't look like a bat, and they like are countering it by making it look less and less like a bat every time they portray it, so where it's just like unrecognizable. It's it, it it's for someone. It is absolutely for someone, and I just starting to think it's not for me. But I'm still gonna read it, and I'm just gonna get more upset.
Yeah.
It's about where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean I've been in the same boat. Like I know there's some people that really like it, and I'm happy for them. But I cannot read this book. I didn't even finish issue 3.
Hmm.
So
I know I've said this before. I'm a little like I didn't mind it with Alfred, but I'm a little getting tired of the Absolute series tendency to take here's beloved side character. What if they were a secret agent, specifically a secret agent?
yeah,
And like I can't wait until Absolute Green Lantern, but Sinestro's a secret agent.
right, right.
Uh,
Well, we joked about that with Absolute Wonder Woman, and I was pleasantly surprised that Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman is just like an Air Force pilot guy,
yes,
like as he is in normal continuity. So I appreciated that. But yeah, Absolute Superman, Lois Lane, like is like a peacemaker agent,
yeah.
and Jimmy
Jimmy
Olsen is a
Olsen is like a
revolutionary.
cyber armored
Yeah.
revolutionary. It was a thing that was neat the first time they did it, and
Uh,
then and with Alfred at least it kind of made sense because I mean Alfred's like former MI6 in like the main continuity, so like
right, right.
him being a current secret agent isn't much of a stretch. He just has to be like 40 years younger and it suddenly works.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I get that. That Alfred works better than the rest of them. But yeah, that was the book I was displeased for reading.
All right,
Um,
tell me about something you liked then.
I
Let's get
liked
that.
everything else I read.
Okay.
So there's a new Transformers this week. I
Yeah.
actually have the alt cover.
It's nice. What's that
Ultra
character?
Magnus.
Ultra Magnus?
Yes. I've been loving every single issue of the Transformers series, and like it, every one of them brings me back on board. Like I'm already on board, and every one of them like re-wins me over.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's got an art style I can describe at this point as like crunchy or like texture. Like everybody just looks like they're very coarse to the touch.
Hmm.
But like it covers a lot of like B-list Transformers really well. It's got like a lot of fun scenes. About the only criticism I had with it kind of got wiped away this issues. Like it's because it's been very bleak. It's been very, very bleak. Things are
Hmm.
just bad all of the time. And like this one actually touches kind of more optimistically than the other ones. So like it took the one thing that I was getting like not annoyed by, just the one thing that wasn't perfect for me, and they just like they're addressing that. So like I
Hmm.
mean that's good. I like it. It's fun. I am noticing that this comic so far is being very, very mean to like the Coneheads. So Thrust in this issue gets like power bombed at some point. It's also got Rat Bat. That's kind of fun. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but like Thrust at one point gets power bombed in like a previous issue. Like I forget if it's Dirge or Ramjet, but one of the other Coneheads gets like eviscerated. I'm like, this artist doesn't like the Coneheads. But it's fun. It's good. I like it. I very heavily recommend it. It's probably my current favorite of the comics that are getting released.
Oh
I
wow.
look forward to it every month.
It's nice to hear somebody other than me gushing about Transformers. Although it is a little weird that it's also somebody named Aaron who also loves
Yes.
Transformers. But
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're coming at it from like a slightly different perspective because I think you actually know a little bit more of like Transformers lore than I do because I'm coming at it from somebody who played with a few of the toys 35 years ago and really hasn't touched it since.
So I'm coming at it from a kind of weird perspective too. Like I'm not coming at it with like decades of experience. It's just kind of been my ADHD hyperfixation for about like a year now. So like I know quite a bit about it, but I've learned it all in like the last year.
I gotcha.
So
Okay,
I
okay.
I do know a lot about it, but it's all like it's not from like decades of watching Transformers.
Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. Still, I also highly recommend Transformers. I just love reading it every month. It's fantastic. Okay, let's talk about. We have two kind of weird books that I don't know where to put them in the stack here. But we at the store we occasionally back Kickstarters and get stuff for our store. So I have two of those types of books to talk about. The first one we will talk about is the one I'm probably most excited to talk about. It is Headlopper Tales presents Agatha by Andrew MacLean. And if you've never read Headlopper, I highly, highly recommend it. This is a fun little one-shot, single issue that he self-published himself, or that he self-published himself. That's a little redundant. That he self-published, and it's kind of a prequel story. It takes place before Headlopper, and it has some characters that are in Headlopper, but it's just a complete standalone story. So it's designed, I think, in a way that new readers, if you've never read Headlopper, you could just pick this up and read it and enjoy it because it's not really tied to any of the greater continuity in any way, and it's just about these witch characters that are in a conflict with each other, and it's basically it's exactly what the rest of the series is like. It's fun, it's adventurous, action packed, and I really like Andrew MacLean's art style. It's very unique. Not It's not going for like a realism style that most boring American comics will do, like that photorealism. He's ditching that entirely, and he's got like a very unique kind of playful cartoony style, but also doesn't look like the standard cartoony style that you see in a lot of books. So I highly, highly recommend this. This is a fun book. There's a lot of fun witch stuff in it. Like I said, the main character. So Agatha, just like if if you're sort of familiar with the series, the first story is there's a warrior called the Headlopper, and he's carrying around a witch's head that talks to him and taunts him. And this is that witch. This is Agatha, and this is
It's like a prequel.
yeah, it's a prequel. It's before she gets her head lopped off, and there's like a little bit of a tease to like things are happening. Like I've seen a vision of the future. But yeah, really, really good. So we've got copies of this in the store if you didn't back his Kickstarter, and I'm very. I mean, I just read it today, but I'm very excited about it. It's really cool. Also, highly recommend Headlopper if you haven't checked that out. It's good fantasy barbarian comics, but with its own kind of flavor that's unique to other. Like I love Conan the Barbarian, but I like that it's like its own flavor. That
Mhm.
it's not just like doing the same thing. Another Kickstarter book that I'll just like briefly mention for half a second. We got this book called Hamlet Mania. This is a special book because it is actually a book that I wrote and funded on Kickstarter. We had a signing for it last week, and thank you to everybody who came out for it. I'll just give you the quick pitch. We got copies in the store right now. This is basically a retelling of Shakespeare's Hamlet, but with outer space intergalactic wrestlers. So yeah, the this first issue is the character. It's a tag team match between Killer Claudius and King Hamlet versus Fortinbras Senior and Junior. And if you're familiar with the Hamlet story, this takes place before the actual Hamlet play opens. This is kind of like like these are scenes that are alluded to in the original play but are not seen. And
So they very well could have been wrestling.
yes, exactly. You don't
You don't
know.
know,
You
yeah.
don't know that this is what they were doing when King Hamlet was at war with Fortinbras. So yeah, this is drawn by St. Louis artist Greg McCrary, and we just had a lot of fun with it, and we're really happy to see it in print. So yeah, swing by the store, get yourself a copy. Okay, what else do you got, Aaron? What
I
else did
got
you really
two
like?
more, and I'll start with the one I like second most.
Okay,
That's not to imply it's not great. The other one I grabbed is Moon is Following Us. The Moon is Following Us. This
yes,
is issue number 6 in it, and I've been enjoying this so far. I like it quite a bit, but I'm definitely
let's put it under the
put it on
camera.
the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I'm liking it quite a bit, but I'm definitely liking it like aesthetically quite a bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a bit of a shallow reading. Like I like the story. The story is good, but I like the look. Like I really like that spider character. I think
Yeah,
he is a
yeah.
very cool design. And that's a bit of a shallow reason to like something, but
Look at
it's
this
a
crab tank.
yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
it's a very aesthetically pleasant book to follow.
I think that's a kind of the selling point of this series is the character designs and the art by Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossimo. And we've talked about this in the past with other issues, but I love that it's two artists and they
Mm-hmm.
have both like there's a reason why you're switching back and forth between the artists, like between
Yes, yes.
the real world and the dream world. And so that just like aesthetically flows really well. And I like that you get to see the like different interpretations of the characters depending on where they are and which artist is drawing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fun issue. This is technically it's I think they kind of referred to it as the start of a new story arc, which it's weird to think about.
Something 6 issues in
It's
starting a new story arc.
yeah, and it's a 10 issue series, so they're as I understand it. So
Two
they're
arcs, I guess.
yeah, there's it's basically like split in two, which is a little bit of an odd pacing because like a lot of which I by the way I'm saying it's odd, but I really appreciate it because I feel like a lot of comics, modern comics, fall into this trap of trying to write for a movie, and it's
Mhm.
like a traditional 3 act structure, but it doesn't fit very well across a 4 or 5 or even a 6 issue series. So I like that Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossimo are doing something that feels really like it's real to it's appropriate for comics. Like the
Mhm.
pacing is really good. Each issue has something cool about it, and like you said, a lot of it is just aesthetically the art. Like I like you said, the designs. I love the look of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's kind of the same reason I like that. What was it Precious Metal? It's over now, but like that
Yeah,
Precious Metal comic was 100% like yeah, that one in particular. The story was confusing. This story
I
I can
like
follow.
I
Like
like this page a lot.
yes, it's a very good page. I
Yeah.
have seen this scene in real life. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's really good. And I mean, most people, I think, like Daniel Warren Johnson has like he's kind of like the he's like the comics darling right now. I mean, I guess if it wasn't clear, Daniel Warren Johnson is also writing the Transformers series that we were gushing about.
that's
So
fair. I
yeah,
didn't know that, but I'm not as in tune with the stuff.
yeah. So yeah, that's right. Alex loves The Moon is Following Us. It's great. Continues to be great.
Yes.
It's awesome. All right, I'm going to talk about. Let's see, what am I going to talk about here? Briefly mention. I don't have a lot to talk about this because I haven't gotten caught up on the series. But if you've been following Death of Copra, I love the Copra books, and this is the final series. So great artist Michel FIFA is ending his 50 issue long independently published comic book series Copra, and just beautiful, beautiful, cool, stylized art. And I think what I like about this comic so much is it really is it's a blending of high art and low art.
I was gonna say it's got like it's got like a feeling to it. This feels like it could. This feels like two different cartoons that have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
Like some of the, I'm gonna sound like a crazy person here. Some of the panels feel a little Batman Beyond looking, and
Mm-hmm,
some of the
mm-hmm.
panels feel a little Daria looking. And I don't mean that in a
Sure.
bad way,
Yeah.
but like it's vibes. It's all.
So
I sound like a crazy
what
person.
what I have said before is that what I like about Copra is that FIFA's art looks like the type of art that a high schooler would scribble in his notebook, but
But in a good way.
it looks like the art that the high schooler imagines he's scribbling. Like
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's like better than a high school scribbles, but it still retains a lot of that. I don't know, just that. style aesthetic. There's something to it. I love his art. It's mixed media, so he'll kind of change up his style depending on the scene or
Mm,
the characters that he's illustrating. And so sometimes it's like really abstract, and then other times
it's
it's
much more.
much more straightforward. But it's great because it's just a story. It's like it's it's exactly those like 90s hardcore superhero comics. It's Youngblood, it's X-Force, it's just that. Like but in this like extremely
I'm,
stylized art.
I'm really glad she's humoring my off the wall crackhead theory of
Daria and Batman Beyond. Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm glad that I'm being humored for that because I feel like a crazy person for saying that.
No, I get it because there is a 90s vibe to FIFA's artwork. Like just the like the way what he's doing here, and Daria and Batman Beyond both 90s. So
Hmm.
yeah, I sort of I do kind of see that. But yeah, this book is just awesome. I highly recommend Copra. Just start at the beginning, read the first trade. There are 7 of them, and then yeah, oof, coming to an end. Really excited about that. Okay, I've got. I'm going to briefly blast through a few more books, and then we'll talk about our last 2 special. I actually have 3 Marvel books to talk about. One of them I really like, and the other 2 I'm talking about out of a sense of obligation. Um, Deadpool and Wolverine. I really liked issue 1 of this when it came out. This is written by Benjamin Percy and art by is it Jose Casera, I think, or Joshua Casera? I don't remember, but it's Joshua Casera. And this is, you know what? This is like kind of like way better than it deserves to be. Like I kind of, admittedly, at this point, I expect a Deadpool Wolverine comic to just be just a cheap like we got to get something out because there's the movie was the biggest thing in the
Yeah.
world. But they got a killer team on this book. Like the art is fantastic, and I you barely rarely ever hear me say that about a Marvel book these days. I really like it. And the story, Benjamin Percy is writing the Wolverine series, so he's definitely got a handle on the character. Um, I think he's Deadpool and Wolverine is good. Yes, I think so. This current series by, as I said, Percy and Casara, really good. It's definitely like Ben Percy does a good job of riffing on a lot of '90s vibe
Yeah.
era Weapon X type stuff, which is definitely my kind of thing. Like as you can see here, Maverick is in it. You got these Department H suits, and it's not really a spoiler, but the final page twist in the first issue was that the main villain is Strife. And if you don't know who Strife is the clone of Cable who tried to kill Professor X in a big one of the big crossovers of the early 90s, and everybody thought it was Cable, and so the X-Men were fighting with Cable trying to kill him, and then it was revealed that there was a clone. It's horribly schlocky. And Strife also has the worst comic book costume of all time.
Oh boy.
Uh, so many spikes. He's like spikes on top of spikes. Like it's like he wouldn't be able to turn his head. He's got so many spikes. But so it's definitely tamed a little bit for this modern design. This the costume he's got here, and I like the he had a cape, and it's more of a cloak in this one, so it kind of covers up his silver armor.
Does he have that? Does he have that very '90s cape that's like 6 knives coming off the back?
Yes,
I
it's
really,
one of those big
I'm
poofy
looking up. I'm gonna
capes.
look up a picture of it right now.
Yeah, it's just the worst costume, but it's really cool that he's back because just it's playing to that '90s nostalgia that I have, and
Oh, I definitely know this character.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen this guy. I've seen him before. He's a
yeah,
okay.
he's in stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen this design of him. I've not seen that design of him before.
right.
Okay, I know.
It's in this book it's downplayed. The original design is so
Yes,
ridiculous.
he
It's
looks so much like Cable. I
it's
can see the confusion.
yes, exactly.
Like,
Well, he wasn't wearing his armor when
okay,
he's
okay.
dressed. He was dressed up as Cable. It was all a master plot
Oh yeah.
to get the X Men to kill
Oh,
Cable.
of course.
But yeah, so I really liked it. Second issue, it's got like some kind of weird like zombie dinosaurs in it, and I like me some dinosaurs. So yeah, it's really good. All right, the other 2 books we're going to talk about briefly. Um, they're both fine. I'm just going to get that out of the way. They're fine. I read One World Under Doom. This is the new kind of event book that Marvel is doing. It's setting up the status quo of the Marvel Universe. Doctor Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme, which he, I guess, stole from Doctor Doom in the Blood Hunt event. Yeah, he's. I said it. I said the thing. He stole the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme, and he set himself up as Emperor of Earth because now he has all the. I mean, okay, so Alex, I know this is written by Ryan North. So if you've been following the Fantastic Four series, I'm sure you're really hyped about this. Yes, yes, and you really like Ryan North's FF. So this definitely feels it definitely is in line with the Fantastic Four run currently, and I think it looks really good. Which again, two two Marvel books in one night that I've said look good. This is what a rarity. But it's yeah, like the story is okay. I'm gonna just totally confess, it's I've just checked out of Marvel and like current Marvel continuity, and I don't like events. So I probably went into this book with just bad vibes, which I will confess. But it also feels a little like I feel like this first issue I can't. I don't want to like spoil anything and like go like I don't want to over explain it. But like we just last summer from DC got the Absolute Power crossover where the villain made everybody hate the superheroes and presented themselves as the real savior and the real hero. And we're basically just getting that again with
it's
this book, and I'm so
it,
tired of
it's really easy for settings to make everybody hate the superheroes unconditionally.
yeah, and I'm admittedly just tired of those types of stories. So that's not a commentary on how well this particular story is presented. I just like I'm just in the mood for some classic superhero stories. I don't need to read a story about how the whole population has been tricked into hating the Avengers and the Fantastic
Yeah.
Four. You know, it's like it's
Like, man, Superman has saved millions and millions of lives, but like
exactly
this evil billionaire trillionaire has said that he did bad things.
yes.
So I don't know.
So there's a little bit of that vibe to it. I didn't read Absolute Power, so I can't directly compare this to Absolute Power, but I can't help but feel like that the two are kind of the same. Like it's just like we'll take a villain and set them up. You know, it's a story that's been done many times. Lex Luthor has been president of the United States before. Uh, uh, I can't think of a Marvel example outside. I'm sure there was something involving Loki. There has to be.
The Thunderbolts was kind of
Thunderbolts, yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
a little
bit of
bit of.
an
Oh,
event like
that's
that.
no, that's what I'm thinking of. The Dark Avengers, the Secret Avengers,
Yeah,
that
there we
whole
go.
period, Secret
Yeah,
Invasion. Yeah, I dipped out of Marvel when that was happening. That was like the first time I quit reading Marvel comics. So yeah, I get a little bit of that vibe. The only thing I will say is that like Ryan North still kind of brings a certain amount of levity to his writing that I think is appropriate for a Marvel comic. But yeah, looks good. Doctor Doom is cool. That's that's about all I can say. Another Marvel book, number one, that I just kind of read out of obligation is Eddie Brock Carnage. Now, I spent a lot of time tonight talking about my connection to the '90s, and it doesn't get much more '90s than
Carnage.
Carnage. I have a real love hate relationship with this character because I really like that Spider-Man run, the 1993 era. Mark Bagley was drawing it, and those issues with Carnage, like that was like peak Venom era. And I pretty much just despise everything done with the character after that. Like he just
Carnage is kind of more one note than Venom. Like you got
exactly
a
yeah.
couple of, although I don't know how they're doing this. Like I don't even know if Eddie Brock is currently good or evil because he's been both. He's been
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
in between. So I don't actually know if this is like a good thing that he's Carnage or a bad thing that he's Carnage.
So
Uh,
to answer that, to be fair, I do appreciate the setup for this like series. It's I mean, of course, it's jumping off of the ending of a previous series where uh, Eddie Brock had to fuse with the Carnage symbiote because they were both dying, and this is the only way they can both survive. I'm guessing Cletus Cassidy was killed,
it sounds like it.
and Eddie hasn't been Venom for a while. It was his son was Venom,
Hmm.
bonded with the Venom symbiote.
Oh yes,
So
Kid Venom.
yeah, Kid Venom, exactly. And so this issue is like, okay, he's reluctantly with the Carnage symbiote, and he's the like they describe it as he's the most experienced with symbiotes. He like,
That's fair.
which is true, and he's like a pretty strong-willed person. So it's like if anybody could control the Carnage symbiote, it would be Eddie Brock.
I get that logic. It's
And
probably
so
it's
that's where
very
they're
much comic book logic.
exactly, yeah, and that's where they're going with the story, where he's kind of like reluctantly paired with the symbiote. The symbiote is openly admitting like it's just going to stick around with him until it can find somebody better to bond with. But in the meantime, they're going to use their powers, their combined powers and knowledge, to hunt serial killers, and that's just kind of what this
Okay.
issue is. And it's like I like the idea is Eddie Brock is like, well, I'm gonna try and channel Carnage into something good, and we're gonna go kill serial killers because he needs to kill. And Eddie Brock is also, it's a symbiosis. They're combined. So he's like also sort of feels the urge to kill now that he's got the Carnage. And also he's killed lots of people before as Venom, so it's probably not difficult to push him on that.
Has Frank Castle ever had a Venom symbiote?
Um,
Because this is just sounding like what if Frank Castle got? It's already that right costume color.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's probably a what if buried in the.
That's what I was about to say. Between the what ifs and the weird, like Punisher had a lot of odd like reboots and starts and stops. Like there was
That
one.
one time he had angel guns.
Yeah, he was literally like killed and resurrected by angels
Had angel guns.
to kill demons. And there was another time where he was Frankenstein. Like he was.
Yeah.
Like, but
Frankencastle.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, this is another one where like I didn't really hate it, but I also like I have a hard time reading Carnage stories. It's like too much. Like
it's extra edgy.
it's extra edgy, and this I'm saying that as somebody wearing a Punisher shirt.
It's more 90s than usual.
It is. But you know what? I didn't hate it. They took the premise about where I would expect it to go, which is like Eddie Brock struggles controlling the symbiote. Symbiote wants to murder people. They're both kind of in this reluctant relationship where they're both openly admitting that they're using each other, which I like respected that. Like,
fun.
and then there's like you're just waiting for them to betray the other one at some point. So it was not terrible. But I don't know if I'm going to keep reading it because I just would much rather read Eddie Brock as Venom, but that ship has sailed. Like they're moving on from that. But I don't think he's going to stay as Carnage for a long time. This is just going to be like one little like story status quo, and then it'll end. I don't know. Who knows?
I can't help here because I'm also kind of with you in that of the Venom symbiotes, I kind of don't care too much about Carnage.
Right.
He's neat, and like I like Carnage because it's Cletus.
Yes.
Like Cletus he's a nut job. Like he doesn't have any kind of personal vendetta.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any kind of like sense of justice. He's like he's a
he
mass
just
murderer.
likes to murder.
He just likes to kill people. And
yeah.
Like it's an interesting like person to put against like the other Spider character, the Spider group characters, just because of the fact that like he's utterly unhinged, doesn't have anything personal. He's just a really, really, really extra bad dude.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we got 2 more books to talk about. Let's talk about this one first.
All right. This is the Lucky Devils. It's kind of a. Have you talked about this one?
We talked about issue 1 when it came out. I'm gonna put it on the big screen.
You were the one who recommended it to me. I've kind of just generally been enjoying it. Again, I don't like to keep saying this, but my enjoyment of it is very vibes based. Like the story is good, but like I love the art style of it. I love like the vibe that these awful little imps have.
Yeah.
Like they're just garbage.
The character design is great.
I like
this.
that. I like the cruise ship. I like the toothy cruise ship going through a lake of fire.
It's a demon cruise ship.
Yeah. And like it's really, really enjoyable. They're talking about like the bureaucracy of hell, and like that's fun to me.
Yeah.
But they show the Chicago Bean, although they flipped the bean for some reason.
That has to be like
there's a joke.
There has to be a joke because I think Ryan Brown. I think he's from Chicago.
Well, if he's from Chicago, that's exactly why he hates the bean.
Okay.
Everybody from Chicago hates the bean, and everybody kind of hates Anish Kapoor, the guy who made the bean.
Okay.
Because he's not a great guy.
Well, there you go. That's a solid theory then.
This might just be a little middle finger to the guy.
Well, there are a lot of not to cut you off, but That's the art. I like you were saying is definitely one of the best things about this book, and he puts so many little
There's
Easter eggs,
tiny, tiny details. I pointed
so many
like
background jokes. I missed a bunch of them. You were pointing them out to me. Yeah, there's
I'm going to go back and reread the first issue to see what I missed in that.
yeah, there's a lot of good
Because
things.
just as a side note, I love
Yes,
the cars. I love the little horrible
yeah,
monster cars
it's
that everybody drives in.
it's like a like
It's
it's
one of the coziest hells I've seen in
it's
media.
evil Studio Ghibli.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
evil demonic Studio Ghibli.
yeah. They're like living vehicle like cat buses.
It's one of the coziest looking hells I've seen.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and I love that. Oh, I guess I should be careful about which page I flip to there. But I do love that the plot is it's like an interesting angle on the morality plot of heaven and hell,
Yeah,
and I like that the basic plot is that hell is like this weird pyramid scheme where demons have to corrupt souls, and you're
the more influence the souls they corrupt have,
yes,
the the bigger.
the more
But
powerful the demon is
yes,
in hell.
they move up like a bureaucracy chain.
Yeah, so they're just like all executives in this company,
Yes,
and
exactly.
it's like they need to they need to corrupt their
It's
and
not
everybody
just
gets one.
yes,
Like
you only get one, and it's not just like enough that you corrupt them. That person has to like then corrupt other people.
right, right,
The more problems that person causes,
right, exactly.
like they straight up draw it out in this one
They
where like
yeah,
a guy convinces a guy like a guy convinces a guy to be greedy, but he's like, no, I didn't just make him greedy because then he'd just be a pickpocket. He's like greedy and ambitious, so he became like a really vicious like money loaner.
yeah,
Money
predatory
lender.
lender and
Yeah, so
gets
like
into high finance.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and he a pickpocket will ruin one person's life,
a
but
high finance will ruin thousands of
millions.
yes.
Yeah, and so it's fun. So like the main two characters are the two lucky devils, and they have a plot to essentially
Upend the system.
upend the whole system because they hate hell because surprise surprise
It's
hell is
hell.
miserable, it's hell, and so they're like we really don't like being here,
Turns
so
out hell is other people.
it's very true.
Eh.
Who said that?
That is Kierkegaard.
I thought it was Sartre.
Oh my god.
Anyway, the point is, it's a really fun story. The two demons have this plot to they're gonna like they're faking that they're corrupting their humans by making them better people, and in doing so, they're going to just destroy hell. And yeah, it's a really fun.
It is Sartre.
Yes,
Dang it.
yes,
Dang it.
yes.
Uh,
I just out nerded you on
you
philosophy.
You did. I'm very upset.
All right, Lucky Devils, highly, highly recommend. This is the same team that brought you 8 Billion Genies, which was. Did you ever read 8 Billion
No,
Genies?
I've not.
Oh, you got to read 8 Billion
Okay.
Genies. It's got the same energy as this one.
Okay.
8 Billion Genies is one day out of nowhere, everybody on planet Earth gets a genie that will grant one wish, and in the first hour, the whole world is like destroyed because everybody's making these like destructive wishes, and the whole story follows over the course of like a long, long time, like hundreds of years of just how like the whole world crumbles and then tries to rebuild itself, and people are like hoarding wishes, and because once you use your wish, your genie's gone.
Yeah.
And so it's I highly recommend it. So this similar like high concept of like playing with that type of like magical reality where it's like it's the real world, but there's this one magical element that
Yeah.
like throws everything into chaos, and that's Lucky Devils. The same thing, devils are real, and 8 Billion genies just show up, and so yeah, really, really good, highly recommended. Okay, one last book to talk about. I don't think you got a chance to read this one.
I didn't. It was actually one of the ones I thought about reading, so this
So
will give me a good
I
advertisement for me.
think you will like this one,
Okay.
Aaron. This is called Bug Wars. This is by Jason Aaron and Muhammad Asrar, and I believe I can't remember which book Muhammad illustrated it. It might have been his Conan the Barbarian run or something else that. Thor. He might have done Thor with Jason Aaron. Anyway, I really like this comic. This is basically it's like a high fantasy, or actually no, high fantasy is not correct. It's more just like a brutal sword and sorcery fantasy.
Sword and sorcery is what
Yeah, sword and sorcery is what I mean. It's like a sword and sorcery fantasy, except it's just a
Bug
tiny.
sized.
It's a tiny little world where like the trolls and people are the size of bugs, and so they're riding these like giant beetles,
Stag beetles.
stag beetles, yeah, and like there's like wasp warriors, and the whole story is like you're introduced to this fantasy world, and it's all happening in
Like a
a
backyard.
backyard of just this house in the backyard, and
Nathan Explosion.
yeah, exactly. So there's two brothers. First of all, they have the best name ever. It's Slaymaker, and also the little nerdy kid's name is Slade. Slade Slaymaker, and his brother, who's basically Nathan Explosion, is Sid Slaymaker, and they're both two very different people. The kid loves bugs. Their dad was an what is
Dale
it?
Gribble.
No, I mean that would be hilarious, but no, he was actual like a bug scientist,
Oh, entomologist.
entomologist. Thank you, and
Not to be confused with an etymologist.
correct. We wouldn't want to confuse those
Yeah.
two. But so something traumatic happened, and their dad
Oh, no.
died,
Bug
and
related?
so it was bug related.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it for you, but so there's a little bit of a like a lore dump kind of in the middle of this. You get your little intro of the epic war between like the trolls and the ant people, and then it's casually interrupted by a lawnmower, and the family's moving back into their old home where their dad died,
Okay.
and it's this known. It's where he did a lot of bug experiments and
Ooh.
studied bugs,
Ooh.
and there's a little bit. I don't want to like spoil anything too much. There's a little bit of like a magical element to this, but I think you can tell from the cover here just like what's going to happen. The kid gets shrunk down into the fantasy world that's
Oh,
happening in his
no.
backyard, and so it's like I got a little bit of a Honey I Shrunk the Kids
Yeah.
vibe to it, but it's not like through super science.
Yeah.
It's there's a
Magic.
mystical element to it.
Okay, this is a weird. I'm here with the weird takes today.
Uh-huh.
The weird take I'm taking off of it, even though this has nothing to do with bugs.
Okay.
The general vibe you've told me about, and like the look of it, it's giving it like a little bit of like a lock and key kind of feel.
Okay.
And I don't know where that's coming from. I don't have like a particular. I think it's just maybe disillusioned kids with their dad who used to be involved in something weird,
Yeah.
and now the something weird is becoming a part of that. I mean, maybe that's too generic of a plot to say that that's a thing reminding me of that, but like it's a small vibe I'm getting.
I can't speak to that because I haven't read Lock and Key,
Oh, that's fair.
believe it or not. But yeah, I really like Bug Wars. This is issue number 1, comes out tomorrow. If
probably read
yeah,
that. That's good.
I do recommend it. It gave me an old school Vertigo vibe. Like Vertigo, I know Vertigo is technically back, but it's been gone for a long time. Vertigo was the publisher at DC who they originally published all the great books like Preacher and
Okay.
Sandman and Transmetropolitan, just like all the books that set the tone for like the late 90s and 2000s.
I think Transmetropolitan was probably my first non-mainline graphic.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think that was my first like it didn't have a Spider-Man or
Right,
an
yeah.
X-Men in it.
Yeah.
I think my first one was Transmet.
That's a good book.
I actually really like it.
But yeah, so Bug Wars definitely gave me kind of a vibe of that, where it's like it's very serious and grounded, but also there's this magical element that leads to adventure, and really, really, really good. I highly recommend it. All right, I think was that everything? Are we done?
I think so.
Okay, right on time. Well, okay, I'm out for the night. Thank you everybody for tuning in, checking out this stream. I hope you saw something you liked. Come on out and get it. Like our friend Dan, he's my Dan really. Our friend Dan likes to say that there's comics out there for everybody. It's not just superhero stuff. You never know what you're gonna find. So come on down, Fantasy Books and Games, and grab some comics. You can get them from anywhere, but you should get them from us because you can talk to us about comics.
Yeah.
And we like talking about comics. All right, everybody, we're done for the night. We'll see y'all later. Bye.